So Nelson Mandela gave certain clues in this conversation. What were the clues? First, he said, he was with such people that it was an honor to be with them. They were his colleagues who had joined the political movement, and they were his very good friends since a long period of time. Which means that the first step for leadership is to go and meet people and make good friends from different sectors. What we do in our times is that if there is something which is not related to us, we don't even look at it. But that's not the case. In fact, you should go out and talk to these people. Because these are the people, if they believe in your ideas, just to become good friends, they will support you for everything. And trust me, it works. That is what has happened with me. When I started this initiative of Sustainable Leadership Summit 8 months back, I had no idea where will I land up. I started with 4 to 5 people, friends who I met in a number of conferences, but all our major partners were our personal friends with whom we had established our strong relations. And they were the ones who were criticizing us and helping us at the same time. So you need to have people from every sector who can enrich your views and understanding. At the same time, you need to have curiosity to see what they are doing in their fields. Because we don't even ask questions, right, if the person is from other field. I mean, if you go and talk to an artist, what technical things do we know about art? But then, of course, we can talk about how he's inspired from art. What are the values that person is promoting in art? The space of dialogue is always there. The second thing which Mandela gave as a clue is about going and starting discussions. Right? Going and starting discussions. Now, this is the person who is there to sabotage the government at one point of time. Why should he start the negotiations? Give me one strong reason. Why do you think Mandela started negotiations? Why can't he go and start the same armed revolution, which was actually already going on, by the way. That was already going on in South Africa. So why did he opt for negotiation?
Because he thought that, as he mentioned, that if I ignore the white people, so means that we are burning more fire. So it needs to do with them and want to be a democratic country. So we need to talk with them, sit with them in order to find a solution.
Right. I mean, that is the very logical reason for all the discussions. Right? Look, really, I think it's the time where we look at it from a very technical point of view. So first he starts an armed revolution. Yes?
I think he looked the problem from other way. I mean, instead of hitting straight, maybe there can be the other way, which is negotiation. Just to check yes or no.
Right, so that's one of the reasons. But look at the situation now, right? First, he started his protest against sabotaging the government, right? Then assume that he goes in jail and there he has a lot of time to reflect of whether the act he did was right or wrong. He was guilty of many things. He's a normal human being, right? So he didn't know that whether what he did was right or wrong. But yes, he pleaded in the court that it is the government who compelled him to use this, the notion of being an armed rebel. But then, when he comes out of the jail, he not only has a vision to establish a democratic country, but he has a vision to establish democratic South Africa for hundreds of years to come. So all of us have learned about management by goals, right? Looking at the goals. So what sets leaders apart is short-term goals and long-term goals. So the long-term goal is, of course, having a democratic South Africa. The short-term goal at this point of time is how can we at least start the negotiation or talking process? At least start off, because it's not going to be easy. So what he did, he wrote a letter to Minister of Justice. The Minister of Justice didn't reply, so he wrote a letter again. And he said that this is not good for you and me as well, but in the end, every one of us will suffer. So let's start the dialogue. And when you look at the movie, you will see how the negotiation process started. So the short-term goal, and which is achievable, was the key strategy. So when you talk about leadership, yes, we know that there is a vision to achieve, right? But you will see lots of people who are just inspired by vision, but they don't know what is the short-term step to be achieved. Same thing applies to Lincoln. For those who have seen the movie, is that Lincoln passes the 13th Amendment to abolish slavery. It took 100 years after Lincoln for Martin Luther King to still come and abolish slavery. But Lincoln provided the foundation for that. And there were many people who were supporting anti-slavery movement at that point of time. But it was Lincoln who was successful in passing the resolution. Why? Because at that time, and this is where the diplomatic skills of leader comes into picture. He knows what is the environment. He knows that passing a small law, irrespective of whatever situation will be out there, whether people will be treating slaves in a good or bad way, but this needs to be done, at least passing the amendment to make it constitutionally valid. That's a smart decision. So short-term goals which are achievable, in which it's not easy to convince, but convince it, and then aspiring for long-term visions. And we'll look at the video of the Lincoln as well. But then, what are the key qualities which sets leaders apart? Is that they constantly challenge themselves. This is what Mandela did, this is what Lincoln did, this is what Gandhi did. They kept on challenging their capacities, right? So whenever we talk about our own capacities, we hardly challenge them because it's a human tendency to go in our comfort zone, isn't it? So when I talk to someone about challenging their own capacity, people think that it is something outside the box. And I tell them that when I ask you to challenge your capacity, it's not that I'm trying to tell you that you should achieve something extravagant, but do what is limited in your capacity. It's a paradox. First of all, you have to do what is within your capacity. And then you have to challenge your capacity. So the example of Lincoln tells us that within his capacity as a president is that at least he can propose a resolution which could be passed. Whether it will fail or not, that's second thing, but at least this is what he did. He challenged his capacity by doing the same act to see whether can I transform my nation or not. Whether I can stop the civil war in US or not. I'll take my example in the case. So for example, I say, okay, I challenge my capacity to see whether I can read some literature from other knowledge sources. But in my capacity, these sources are available, right? These sources are available free of cost online. So I challenge my capacity whether I can read the history of Lincoln or not. And these are simple, small things. So always keep on reflecting, where can I challenge my capacity? What can I do in my limited resources and capacity? When we talk about entrepreneurship, it's all about that. How entrepreneurs create value with limited resources. We are living in fortunate times where lots of things are available for free of cost. So the first rule, constantly challenge yourself and constantly keep on doing what is within your capacity. Most of the people face dilemma of self-confidence, that they don't have skills. People think that leaders are the people who are very good at giving speeches, who are very good at talking to people, but that's not the case. If you are silent, if you're not able to communicate well, you are still a leader. There are many poets, there are many authors who have made difference in the world, even though if they were not good speakers. So those who are introverts, those who are complex of not having good communication skills, you need to pat your back. Because you have important skills of reflecting, which extroverts won't have. So you need to have confidence in your own skills, rather than always looking, because the world will always try to tell you that you need to be extrovert. That is what our human resource course teaches you, that when you go out for an interview, you should try to portray that you are a very good communicator. Fine enough, that's good. But then you cannot change your inherent nature. So your key strategy lies in maximizing on your natural skills which you have. Always focus on that. I don't think and I feel. So talking about leadership it's an endless talk, right? Because